Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. In an effort to investigate a disturbing trend, we here at First Issues canvassed a number of retailers in Gaborone, comparing the retail selling price of various South African publications. The Sowetan newspaper is meant to be sold at R4.90 in Botswana, VAT inclusive, according to the actual price printed on said publication, which works out to about 3.70 Thebe on average, considering the consistent strength of the pula against the rand. Despite this, we first paid 7.65 Thebe, then 9.25 Thebe at a different branch of the same retailer. The same paper was 8.36 Thebe at a completely different store. The Mail and Guardian's retail selling price for Botswana, on the other hand, is even indicated in pula, 37.50 Thebe to be exact. Yet it too was sold at a higher 39.85 Thebe at one of the shops we visited. We surmised that this is either the case of a flagrant abuse of a market with no price controls, or worse yet, one that points to a complete disregard of the law, with retailers taking advantage of consumers' ignorance. Yes, Botswana is a free market economy, but are these price markups ethical? The Mail and Guardian representative we spoke to does not seem to think so. Richard Harriman of Consumer Watchdog says not only are some of these practices unfair, they are in fact illegal.
It's completely not legal. To begin with, it's contrary to Section 31E of the Consumer Protection Regulations, which says that any commodity or service must be sold as it is advertised or represented. Those are the exact words, advertised or represented. So if it's something in the newspaper or on the item itself, it doesn't matter whether it's a magazine or some food or a cell phone, if it says 25 pula on the label, it must be sold for 25 pula.
What of one that's brought up quite often, and I know is a personal pet peeve of yours, the selling of items from South Africa at the not equivalent pula rate. If something is going for 18 Rand and you can see a price tag that had 18 Rand on it and it's converted to 18 pula or more, when we both know those currencies aren't equal.
I should check my pulse, because even you mentioning it gets my heart racing. This is absolute abuse. The exchange rate between the Rand and the pula is about 1.3, I think, at the moment, something like that. That's what the exchange rate is, not 1-to-1. 25 Rand does not equal 25 pula. It's not acceptable. If something's on sale in South Africa for 50 Rand, the maths should be that it should be about 38 pula, give or take. And that's what we should be paying. The Ministry of Trade and Industry, as it was then, in December last year, issued a statement saying it's an unfair trade practice, those are the words they used, for stores, for retailers, not to pass on the benefit of the exchange rate to us in Botswana. It's an unfair trade practice. So it's not just them saying, oh, you shouldn't do this. They're saying, no, stop it now. I think it was in May this year, 2016, the President himself reiterated that. He said, no, it's not acceptable. And I get really angry. We still see people who post it in our Facebook group. They take pictures of labels saying it's 50 Rand, 50 pula. No way, it's simply not acceptable. Now, not every store does this. I spoke to a country manager for a store, a South African chain, just a few days ago. He said, no, of course we don't do that. We look at the exchange rate, and yes, there are certain items where it costs a little bit more to cross the border or transport them because they're perishable, fine, but certainly not 1-to-1. It's a little bit more expensive than 38 pula, maybe 39 or 40. A small difference is fine, I can understand that. But doing a 1-to-1 conversion is completely unacceptable morally. It's now an unfair trade practice. And do you really want to irritate the now Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry and His Excellency? Do you really want to take that on? I don't think so. Stores must stop that. They must stop it now before they get into serious trouble. The Ministry, in their first ruling, their first statement said, stores that persist in doing this will have their licenses reconsidered and maybe even cancelled. Do they really want that? I don't think so. So stop it now. Stop it now. And if you see it as a consumer, what I suggest you do is you alert the store manager post a picture of it on Facebook, in our Facebook group, and we will take it directly to the ministry and to HE.
So the same factors don't apply. You said in convenience store, they are offering convenience. There are transportation costs. You're saying they are nowhere near balancing out their currency. It should not equal 1-to-1, even if you factor in transportation and other factors.
The country manager for the South African chain I spoke to said it's a couple of percent. That's the difference. That's the extra cost of transporting someone, the goods from maybe their depot in the middle of South Africa to somewhere else. But they don't charge more if they transport goods to Polokwane or to Lesotho or to Swaziland. It's only in Botswana, though, they charge this massive excess. There's absolutely no justification for it whatsoever. I've heard some people say, well, labour costs are higher in Botswana and taxes are higher. Well, they're simply not. They're simply not higher in this country. Our level of VAT is 12% as opposed to 14%. Our labour costs are no higher and sometimes lower than in South Africa. It's simply made up. They're profiteering, and it's not acceptable. Stores that do this should stop doing it. Stores that don't do it, the reputable ones, that's where we should be shopping. That's where we should be spending our money. We should be supporting those South African chains that respect our law. Simple as that.
What about the retailer? I'm sure when you're selling a product and you have decided that 10 pula is the best price for this product that I'm selling in terms of my market research and all of that, and then to have it sold for more, I'm sure there are some negative consequences to that. And what recourses?
As consumers, the recourses we have the legal framework. We can complain to the Consumer Protection Unit in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, and they're good people. They're good people there. And this particular issue, they're as angry about it as I am. I saw them just a couple of days ago, and they're still really furious about this. They want it to stop, and they've told companies to stop. So go to the Consumer Protection Unit. But also, you have the freedom as a member of society to post things on Facebook, to publicise these things, to say, look, this is what I saw. And we're not trying to be nasty. All we're doing as consumers in Botswana is saying, these are the rules, this is what's decent and fair. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for miracles. We just want to be treated fairly. We just want to be treated reasonably. And I think as consumers, we have a right to start making noise when we're being mistreated.
What about the producers of those products?
We can explore this as actually going to the original producers of these products, because their name is being tarnished. The stores in question are the ones mistreating consumers, but the bad name is going to be associated with the guys that originally produced that particular product. So I think it's an interesting thing that we'll explore, is going to the original producers and saying, we know you're producing a fantastic product, but do you know the consumers that are buying that product in Botswana are being mistreated by your retailer? Do you really want that to happen? Maybe some pressure can come from their side as well as from ours. I think it's a good idea. We should start exploring that.
Welcome back to First Issues as we look into yet another issue of interest. Richard Harriman of Consumer Watchdog says there is no valid reason for local consumers to be paying a higher sticker price for South African products than their neighbours, and that it is in fact illegal. With Choppy's supermarket selling South African magazines and newspapers at a higher than advertised price, we asked its CEO Ramachandran Ottapattu whether they are aware of the legal implications of this practice.
It is a recommended selling price. It is only a recommended selling price. It's not the price. There's only one product which is regulated, price regulated, is fuel. Other than that, it's a market economy. You decide what price you need to buy and sell. There are two types of magazines here. Okay, one, magazines originate from within our country, which is based in Pula price. Magazines priced in Pula come with a recommended selling price, and we honor that price all the time. Okay, the magazines which are coming from South Africa, it comes from a different republic. Okay, we need to convert that into the exchange rate. If you look at rand, it is the most volatile currency in the world.
Having heard from a consumer rights watchdog and a local retailer, we look to hear from South African publishers themselves as to who they think is responsible for Botswana consumers paying more than the advertised price on their products. Our efforts to contact some magazine publishers were fruitless, but we did manage to speak to Mail and Guardian's Deacon Jays. asking him whether they are aware that some retailers are selling their publication at a higher price than that they have advertised as being for Botswana.
We have recently become aware of it through your interventions, and we do know that, especially in across borders, in other words, outside of South Africa, where we normally publish, we do know that sometimes some retailers do sell the copies at a more expensive price than we recommend. I would prefer it that people brought these things to our attention and that they dealt with retailers at that level. Ultimately, it's up to the retailer to either uphold the rules of the country in which they operate. And frankly, any customer who buys it shouldn't pay more than that, because they are being gouged, frankly. But I can't tell a retailer what to do in their store. I can only supply them on the terms that we have agreed through our distributor. But it's up to the customer to then say to that retailer, that's the price of that product, I'm not paying more. And if the retailer says, well, I'm not going to sell it to you for less than that, then they need to deal with whatever legislation exists in Botswana. They're fully entitled to deal with that retailer in Botswana. It's impossible, frankly, for me, certainly in South Africa, to police all the Botswanan retailers. It's just not possible.
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to look into why Botswana consumers are being asked to pay more than the advertised sticker price for certain South African publications. Previous guests have implicated the distributors of these products, so we sought out Jeff Milton of African Channel Distribution, who are independent distributors that took over the distribution of close to 50 publications in Botswana about 18 months ago. He says they have indeed set standardized cover price markups across various retailers in Botswana, because the discount they are given by the principals of the product is not enough to cover the transportation costs of delivering in and around the country. Jeff, however, says they have long engaged their South African suppliers on this matter, asking them to either print more accurate prices on their publications or to completely remove the ambiguous foreign countries sticker price that understandably confuses local consumers and raises questions such as those we are asking tonight. We asked him whether the fact that it is illegal to label a product with an incorrect cover price in Botswana ever factors into their conversations with the publishers. And he responded via Skype from their offices in Durban, South Africa.
We take it very seriously, and it is regrettable that there is the confusion of the pricing on the cover page of the magazines. Discussions dating back to June with the principals of the product take cognizance of the fact that we either would like to remove that or provide a pricing that is consistent with the pricing that all of our retail partners in Botswana sell the product at.
Having heard the different sides of this argument, what are your thoughts? We look forward to hearing them on our various social media platforms as well as via SMS. Do stay tuned as next we look into another issue of interest. Welcome back to First Issues, as in this segment, as we have done for some time now, we consider the business practices of a different country. This time turning our attention westwards to our neighbor, Namibia. When I think of Namibia, an image of unique landscapes, of desert sand dunes meeting the Atlantic Ocean, or 1,570 kilometers of coastline designated as a national park, which is probably why tourism is one of the fastest growing sectors in that country. But like the haunting shipwrecks to be found on its skeleton coast, Namibia is a country that is arising from a dark colonial past, in which 80% of the Herero population were killed during a German campaign, and stark economic inequalities persist to this day. After a bush war of almost 25 years, interracial reconciliation efforts encouraged white people to remain in the country after Namibians gained independence in 1990. And this demographic still plays a major role in farming and other economic sectors. The agriculture sector is an important part of Namibia's economy, with around 70% of the country's population dependent on it and contributing around 6% to the GDP. Other major production sectors in Namibia are, however, mining, tourism, fisheries, as well as livestock and meat production, which are all said to be vulnerable to external economic and ecological shocks, meaning that diversification is as pressing a goal in that country as it is in Botswana. With further linkages expected between Namibia and Botswana through the proposed Trans-Kalahari Railway, it is most definitely in your interest to hear what Namibian High Commissioner to Botswana, Bapewa Mubangoa, has to say about how business is conducted in his country.
Namibia is a constitutional democracy based on the rule of law, and right to do business and to make money and repatriate your profit is enshrined in our constitution in terms of Article 98. We have the Ministry of Investment, Trade and SME Development. That is the overall ministry that deal with the company registration. And usually when you want to do business in Namibia, you're expected to approach this ministry or the investment center within this ministry and complete the necessary application forms, indicate how much money you want to put in, and they will assist you in making your investment happen as smooth as possible.
How would you advise, let's say, myself, who has never been to Namibia, about how to best make the right business connections, how to network, my first port of call when going to do business in Namibia?
I think, as I said at the beginning, we have an investment center. That is a government parastatal or institution under the Ministry of Trade and SME Development. They will give you the right people to assist you in connecting with your counterparts. But we also have the Namibian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. This is now the association where all the business people come together. So I think as a business person interested in doing business in Namibia, we would link you up with these people. You engage and exchange ideas, and also they will be able to explain to you in what areas opportunities are available. Of course, Namibia has a lot of primary products from our minerals that are not value added, that we export. And we have been inviting people from outside, not only from Botswana, but also all over the globe, to come and put up some manufacturing companies that will add value to our products. That is with the idea of creating employment for our people and also assist in industrializing the country, but not only industrializing Namibia, but also the region of SADC. We have opportunities in mining, in the energy sector, in agro-processing, and especially manufacturing is very important because, as I said, we export a lot of our primary products, but we also import a lot of finished products from our neighbors. So I think as a point of first stop, if you come to Namibia, it should be the investment center, the Namibia Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
How different or similar would you say it is to the environment or the working environment we see here in Botswana? Is it culturally the same, language the same, business practices the same, or can we expect to find different nuances in business dealing?
Of course, we are a free market economy. And in terms of a free market economy, we allow for private investment. We allow also for private-public partnership, and we allow for small-scale family businesses. So I would say I have not seen much difference between Namibia and Botswana in terms of the business dealings. Yes, of course, at the moment, we do a lot of retail. and we export a lot of employment by exporting raw materials. But in terms of the culture, we are the same people. I have been telling people in this country that there is no single language that is spoken in Botswana that is not spoken in Namibia. You have Setswana speaking Namibians. We have Ochiherero speaking Namibians. These are people you will find here. You have Nama speaking Namibians, you will find them here. You have what you call Bazarwa, we call them the San or Bushmen. They are found here, they are found in Namibia. Culturally, we are the same people. Therefore, I don't see any difficulties from a Motswana coming into Namibia in terms of interaction. You can even speak in Setswana, you can find somebody who can speak that language. But of course, our official language is English. We don't have one national language like here in Botswana. If you speak in English, you'll be able to communicate. But Namibians are very open, friendly people. If you have somebody that you want to talk to, usually it might be over a cup of tea or coffee. You can get invited, and the discussions start from there.
Have you had any experiences doing business in Namibia? Do feel free to share them with us on any of our social media platforms or via SMS. Up next is the winning SMS from last week. What a show! We cannot wait to hear what you all have to say about what was shared this evening. You can have your say even more by taking part in our ongoing Facebook poll. Before we say goodbye, we'd like to read you the winning comment from last week. It is from Teporampana here in Gaborone via Facebook, who said he enjoyed business strategist Renee Carriol's teachings about trust in business. He also noted that the advantage of a collaborative effort between companies is the complementary ways in which personnel can enhance the relationship, and gave an example of how one partner could be good in marketing and the other in public relations for a successful and complementary collaboration. With that, we wish you good night, reminding you that as much as most children love to run and answer the door, and even more so to operate the remote of residential gates, do ensure to teach them the dangers of letting strangers into the home, especially during this time of increasing criminal activity.